Hey there YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're not going to be working on the GSX today. We're going to be doing a little bit of, I guess, diagnostic work, we'll call it. We're going to be looking around trying to fix a couple of issues that the missus is having with her '08 Ford Focus. Now this car is a 2008 Ford Focus SE. It's got around 80,000 miles on it. We got it for a great deal. It's great on gas, perfect little around town cruiser. The missus loves it. Unfortunately, we're having some issues right now. We've had this problem once before in the past as well, but you put the key in the ignition and you turn it and the security light flashes. You take the key out, you try a second time and it starts up. So it's kind of spotty if it wants to turn on every time or not. We're gonna try to figure out what's going on with that. And also we noticed that there's an issue when you're pulling in or pulling out of a parking space, backing up and turning the steering wheel. You can hear a thunking sound coming from the driver's side front and then the passenger side front wheel. So I have a pretty good idea what the culprit may be in that regard, but we're gonna go through this thing real fast, try to figure out why the keys aren't working correctly. We're gonna pop this thing up in the air a little bit, take the wheels off, and we're going to take a look at the suspension component, see if we can diagnose this clunking noise, and hell, we might even throw in a part 2 to this thing and replace some parts. I have a strange suspicion that we're going to be doing that, so let's get ready and jump on into this thing, guys. Alright, so we are in the driver's seat of the Focus, and if you look down there in the corner, you can see that security light's flashing. That's normal. The car is off, it's supposed to be flashing. That's just giving you the warning that the security system is on. So here's the issue. We take our key, put it into the ignition down here on the side. Light starts going, and then you turn the key, nothing happens. Let's try it again. Nothing happens. And now if you wiggle it, there she goes. Kind of frustrating. It's a stupid problem to have, but it is a problem nonetheless. So I guess we're gonna have to pop the hood here and figure this thing out. Last time it was a pretty simple fix. I have a feeling that it's going to be the same exact thing we had wrong last time. It's the PCM. There's actually a bad ground point on these vehicles, straight from the factory, and it doesn't give you too much trouble in the beginning, but later in the vehicle's life, after about 30-40,000 miles, when it's experienced some weather and some of the O-ring connectors and all the little pieces of metal that are holding all the connections together for the wiring and all that get a little bit of surface rust or corrosion on them, it starts to become an issue. So we're gonna pop the hood real fast and take a quick look at this and see if we can figure it all out. Alright, so we've got the hood popped. First thing we're gonna do is crack these lug nuts free, get this thing jacked up in the air, and get some jack stands underneath it, make sure the front end is nice and supported, and we are going to take the front wheels off so we can take a look back in there and see what the heck is going on. So I'm gonna throw you guys off to the side and get this started. Okay guys, so we got this thing up in the air, nice and supported. Wheels are off both sides of the front, and here we are under the hood. Now, the last time that I had this issue, I did a little digging, made a few phone calls, and one of the gentlemen at our local Ford service station gave me a little bit of information on what to look for when the security light was flashing and the key was not working. Now, I know that both of the sets of keys that I have are programmed correctly. They both work. Well, they both did work every single time without issue until we had this problem the first time. The key fobs are both programmed correctly. The remote start system that's installed in this vehicle, everything works great. But all of a sudden, again, this issue has happened. Now, it had come to my realization that the last time that I looked around and performed this repair, I did not clean up the work at the end as well as I should have, and I think that that may be the cause of this issue yet again. So if you have the regular Ford Focus SE with the 4-cylinder 2-liter engine, I believe, you're going to want to take a look under the hood next to your battery. We got our air box right here, and right here is our battery, and sandwiched between is our PCM. Now, you can tell that this is the PCM by the big wiring harness that's running into it. It's got 3 different connections, it looks like, on it. They're all held into this big gray plastic locking clip. So, the funny thing about this is, from the factory, everything probably worked great. But if you look at your PCM, you'll notice that you have a ground cable tied to your battery that's running underneath and through the back here, and it comes out by your strut tower. Now, these 2 connections are coming from your battery, and the other one is routed down through the bottom. I believe it ties right into your PCM. And this point right here is painted. It's painted over with the same amount of coats of paint that the engine bay has everywhere. So, if you know anything about electricity, you can't make a good ground to a painted surface. And if you've seen our previous videos where we rewired our fuel pump in the DSM, you'll know that we ended up having to take our rotary tool out and grind off some of the paint in the back seat area so that we can make a new ground for the fuel pump relay. So what we're going to end up doing here is taking off this connection, which is a little corroded, and you can see that red, that's a little bit of surface rust on the metal. We're going to clean that off with a wire wheel on the end of a drill. We're going to get it nice and shiny again. We're going to throw everything back together, and we're going to hope for the best here and see if this thing fixes our issue once and for all. And once it's all cleaned off and put back together, I'm going to hit it with a little bit of black paint to try to cover up all these connections. So let's get to it. Okay, so we've got our little magnetic metal tray to hold our couple of nuts and bolts so we don't lose them. We grabbed our 8mm. This little point right here is an 8mm, and we have a drill with the wire brush on the end of it. So I'm going to set you guys off to the side. I'm going to take this stuff all apart and start cleaning up these connection points, and we're going to get this thing looking good so we can put it back together and hopefully have a fix to our issue once and for all. Alright, so if you look right here, our surface is nice and shiny again, where we're going to remount this to. This ring terminal is all shiny on both sides, nice and cleaned off. The main connection here, top and bottom, are scrubbed down real nice and they're shining. So we're going to go ahead and throw this thing back together. We're going to give it a little shot of paint right over top of here, all the exposed parts. Hopefully that'll protect it just enough to keep it from rusting from the edge inward again and breaking our connection. And once that's set, we should be good to fire this thing up. Alright, we are back in the focus. Moment of truth. Key is going in. And all the lights are on. Oh, beautiful. Let's try one more. Well, dare I say that we just fixed that problem. So if you guys have a 08 Ford Focus SE or SES or whatever Ford Focus from 2008, I know for a fact the PCM is painted. The ground connection is painted. So if you run into this issue, I really hope it helps you out. It's a pretty simple fix, and honestly, I would hate to have to take this to the Ford dealership and pay some ridiculous fee for those guys to go through and do a quick bit of sanding and reconnect one bolt? I don't know. Well, let's move on to the next thing here and see if we can diagnose where all the thunking in the front end is coming from. Like I said before, you get a nice loud cracking sound when you're stopped and you turn the wheels to the left, or you back out of a parking space and go to leave. And something's bad, something's broken, something's worn out. So we're gonna take a look down there and see if we can figure it out. Well, let's get to it. All right, so we are over here on the driver's side front wheel, and we've only had this vehicle for about, I'd say, what, a year and a half now. And the dealership we picked it up from actually replaced a few parts. We had the tie rod ends done, the sway bar links replaced at one point. So that led me to think that this may be a thunking noise either coming from the lower control arms, maybe a strut tower mount is bad. The upper strut mount might be cracked and making a thunking sound on both sides. Or it may be our sway bar bushings. I believe this thing is mounted to the back of a firewall here. I have to get down a little further and take a better look, but simply put, all we're gonna do is get in here with our big old pry bar and start prying some stuff around, see if we can find some movement, get something to wiggle, and we're gonna go from there. So I'm gonna stick you guys off to the side while I mess around with this thing and see if we can diagnose where this horrible little crack sound is coming from. So we're over on the passenger side now. I've been looking around for a few minutes. The struts are pretty rusty. They got a lot of surface rust on them. I don't think it's my tie rod ends, even though they don't look too pretty, or my sway bar links. Those all look relatively new. So that pretty girl from the hood picture, the DSM, is out here. We're gonna have her hop in the car and turn the wheel from left to right, and I'm gonna see if I can wiggle stuff around with this big ass pry bar until we find the culprit. So through some wiggling and poking around with our giant pry bar here, I think I've solved the case. Unfortunately, it looks to be my control arm bushings. Here, let me see if I can zoom you guys in and get you a nice shot of this wiggle. It moves pretty easily up and down about, oh, what do you say, quarter inch? Yeah, just about a quarter inch. And that's where our thunking noise is coming from. You turn the wheel to the left when you're making a turn or backing out, and then when you correct to pull out of your parking space or whatever, the torsional forces on this are making it pop up and then pop back down, and it's also wiggling in and out. If you see that. God, this thing, I don't know, these probably haven't been replaced ever in their life. They look like they're original still. So looks like we're going to be doing a part 2, replacing control arms on your 08 Ford Focus. So we got our keys to work correctly. Hey there, Mrs. Key works fine. My key works fine. We found the culprit to our annoying thunking sound on the front end. We're going to get some parts ordered, get those things in here, and I'm going to show you guys how to replace your control arm. It's probably something that's been covered many times, but something new to this channel anyway. So don't forget, like the video down below, subscribe to stay tuned for more maintenance, fun, and upgrades on the DSM, and until next time, we will see you on today's project guide.